All right, 6 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the October 2nd, 2024 Grants Pass City Council meeting. We start our meetings with a moment of silence, so please join us for that. Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have Councillor Auger on the phone tonight, and it looks like Rob Pell is absent. Everybody else here. We're going to get started with an ordinance creating a developer-installed reimbursement district for the Buckmaster Subdivision water main extension. And Bradley Clark, please get us started.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. Yes, we have two reimbursement districts for you tonight. One is for water extension and one's for sewer extension. This first one is Buckmaster Subdivision. This is on the south side of the river off Leonard Road. And the developer, who in this case is Michael Masters, is developing the Buckmaster Subdivision, and as a part of that there's water improvements that are needed in Leonard Road. There's approximately 695 feet of frontage that are involved in this particular water project. It relates to the council goal to maintain, operate, and expand our infrastructure to meet community needs. So here's a map of the proposed reimbursement district. There's 4 parcels that are involved in this district. If you may recall, when the property was rezoned or annexed, the Buckmaster Subdivision does actually involve this other parcel, but that's phase 3. So this particular reimbursement district only addresses phases 1 and 2 of the Buckmaster Subdivision, which is number 2 on this map behind me here. Grants Pass School District has the 2 lots on the south there. The school is on 3, and then number 4 has a couple of other improvements. Number 1 is actually not in the city limits. It's zoned in the county. So this project is estimated at about $215,000. The northern portion of Leonard Road is for residential, and the southern portion of Leonard Road is non-residential. So there are estimated assessments that are in your packet tonight that kind of break down exactly how the costs are allocated. Those are all done per an ordinance that the city has adopted in its municipal code. So as terms of public outreach, staff have been working with Mr. Masters on the creation of this reimbursement district. On September 18th, we sent a notice out notifying the 4 property owners of tonight's hearing and the reimbursement fees that they would be expected to pay. And then tonight is the public hearing. As far as the imposition of assessments for these districts, they are due and payable at the time that an applicant or a lot owner pays the building permit to hook up to water. So there's not any costs involved now. It's only at the time that they hook up to the water. So these are 2-step processes. You are being asked tonight to create the reimbursement district, and then after the project is done, construction is completed, all the actual costs are known, and they've been inspected by the city Public Works Department. Then we come back to you with the second part of these reimbursement district. That's the final, and that's what establishes the final number. But tonight sets the ceiling. The second round cannot go above what that number is tonight. That's $215,000. So the call to action, it's recommended that the council adopt the ordinance as presented to you. Call to action is tonight, and there's 3 different alternatives for you to look at.
Thanks, Brad. Council, do you have any questions? Rob?
So, Brad, section 7 on it's page 10 of our packet, it reads, council further determines that this district shall be continued for 15 years from the date of adoption of the final ordinance unless terminated by the council. In what circumstance would a future council terminate this, and why might they do it?
To my knowledge, we have never seen that happen. I think normally it would only be for failure to comply, with the adopted terms of an ordinance. This is a private reimbursement district. The city does set some up for itself as well. But as a private, assuming that the water main gets installed, anyone in the future who needs to hook up to city water, the water's already going to be there, so they just extend out and they pay the fee. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact terms. That section you're referring to refers to Ordinance 235882. And I would have to see if it spells out any of what those terms for that future council could look. But normally there would not be any concerns with that.
So I guess my concern is, what protections does Mr. Masters or any other developer who does a reimbursement district have that, they're assuming that they're going to get their money back at some point in the future when people hook in, and yet it sounds like there's a potential loophole or something that could prevent that from happening. So what assurance do they have that everything's going to go as planned?
Well, I don't think, the loophole wouldn't be probably the term. I think it's just a very unique provision that in failure to abide by any particular terms of the agreement, I don't know exactly what that would be, but he has the assurance that once the ordinance is in place, the district is set up, if somebody hooks up into that line that he installed, they will be reimbursed.
Dwayne?
I think it is a deed restriction on the property, isn't that correct? It'll be recorded in part of the deed.
Yes, correct. All these reimbursement districts show up. So on any title search, title companies, it'll show up as a part of a reimbursement district.
Yeah. So okay.
Brian?
Yeah. Thanks, Brad. Could you go to the schematic, the plat map? So Michael Masters initiated this application presumably for number 2 on that map. Number 1 is owned by a different private individual. How does that work with them being brought into the district? I know that a notice was sent out last month. Was there any response to that notice or any other communication?
Yes, the owner of number 1 did leave a message with our business operations supervisor, and he called him back. I don't know if they for sure hooked up, but the way that it's designed in this ordinance is that we assume an urban density project when we're calculating the fees. So the existing house, being unincorporated, is going to continue on the well and the septic. It's only if in the future they decide to develop, annex, and rezone and develop that they would be subject to the reimbursement district.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Rick?
Thank you, Brad. So that portion that allows consideration of modification of that agreement, couldn't that also, if the right-of-way were to change for some reason, that the opportunity is there for the developer and for the city to renegotiate? And then, like under Ordinance 235882?
Councilor, I guess I'm going to have to ask for clarification. I'm not following.
I didn't know if the wording in there there was some concern that the developer would be left in trouble, but I think what my guess is that, could it be that the wording is there, if there was a major modification of the road right-of-way, then there would have to be new discussions of relocating the water line and also the allocation that's been assigned. Do you know what I'm saying there?
I think I'm following you. I'm not sure how that would affect the reimbursement district, though, because this reimbursement district is only for water. So, and either way, now this is an 8-inch main that's being charged, but it's a 12-inch main that's being installed. So they will work with Public Works on that upsizing. So there is that's already kind of been factored in to this project.
And likely if there was another change in, say, the traffic pattern and the traffic right-of-ways that were established in a neighborhood in and around a reimbursement district, that would likely fall in line also with the creation of another reimbursement district, because when you're putting in a new road, a new right-of-way that usually goes with public infrastructure of sewer and water, they would likely be setting up something very similar.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
You bet.
Brian?
Sorry, I just had one more question. So the development's actually happening on number 2. Number 1 is privately owned. Number 3 and 4 are publicly owned. Why isn't the district just number 2? Why is it all 4 of those parcels?
Well, the whole purpose of the reimbursement district is to be able to recapture the expenses that a developer installs when they put the line in front of parcels that have some development potential. Then the reimbursement gets created around those that have redevelopment potential. Otherwise, for example, anything on the south side, what is this, west? Yeah, west of 3 is actually outside the urban growth boundary. So those are not included because they're not in the urban growth boundary. But anything that's in the urban growth boundary that has development potential is going to be included. And so yes, there's a school there, but if they ever have to make an addition or they want to install, some kind of a new outbuilding that has a water, that requires water, so then they would have to pay the fee because they're hooking up to city water, which today they're not.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Brad. Is there anyone from the public who wanted to speak on this issue? All right, we'll close the public hearing and turn it over to you for discussion, council. Brian?
I move to adopt the ordinance creating the developer-installed reimbursement district, CC 6577, for the Buckmaster Subdivision water main extension on Leonard Road, and have it read by title only, first reading.
Seconded by Dwayne. Any discussion on the motion? All right, Brian, you made the motion. How do you vote?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
DJ?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass creating a developer-installed reimbursement district, CC 6577, for the Buckmaster Subdivision water main extension.
Rick?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance creating the developer-installed reimbursement district, CC 6577, for the Buckmaster Subdivision water main extension on Leonard Road, and have it read by title only, second reading.
Thank you. Seconded by Valerie. Any discussion? All right, Rick, you made the motion this time. How do you vote?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
DJ?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass creating a developer-installed reimbursement district, CC 6577, for the Buckmaster Subdivision water main extension.
Thank you. Our next item is a public hearing regarding an ordinance that would create a developer-installed reimbursement district for the East Street sewer extension.
Okay, so this is our second one tonight. This one is for a sewer main. This project's on the north side of the river, where F Street starts to kind of move into the western portion of our urban growth boundary. Fry Street kind of intersects in there. So there's a few parcels. This is an older part of the city, but some of these parcels have undeveloped and or vacant and are looking to develop. So tonight we're looking at installation of a sewer improvement on Fry of about 340 feet. That includes both on Fry and on E Street. So here's a map showing this proposed district boundary. Again, here's F Street along the southern portion, and then as you come near the intersection of E Street and Fry Street, here are the impacted properties. So the dashed line there shows where the proposed extension of the sewer main would go. So this project is estimated at about $98,700. Again, upon connection to the sewer, property owners would pay the residential per dwelling unit assessment, which is about $7,000. Similar to the last one, we did notice of each of the properties that are in the district and notified them of tonight's hearing. Per Ordinance 235882, these improvements would be due and payable at the time that they propose to connect to the sewer. And again, these funds would be returned to the two property owners. There's two of those property owners that are within the district that are the applicants for this district. So since they're paying the upfront cost to put the sewer in, they would not be charged that $7,000, but the money would be collected by the city and returned to those two developers. Staff recommends adoption of the ordinance. Call to action is tonight, and then three alternatives on the screen.
Thanks, Brad. Council, do you have any questions? Brian?
Yeah, just a quick one on the plat map. The properties on the north side, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I know that those have existing dwellings on them. Does this mean that those are not currently hooked up to city sewer?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who wanted to speak on behalf of this issue? All right, we'll close the public hearing and turn it back to council for discussion. Rob?
Actually, sorry, Brad, I do have a question as part of our discussion. So the properties that currently have dwellings that are not hooked up to sewer, do they have to hook up to sewer if they sell those properties?
No. Those septic systems are there. They're grandfathered in. They're permitted to remain there, but upon failure of a septic system is usually when we see those hook up to sewer.
Thank you.
Brian?
I move to adopt the ordinance creating the developer-installed reimbursement district CC 6578 for the East Street sewer extension and have it read by title only, first reading.
Seconded by Rick. Any discussion on the motion? All right, Brian, you made the motion to approve. How do you vote?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
DJ?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Vanessa?
yes,
Motion passes 8-0.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass creating a developer-installed reimbursement district CC 6578 for the East Street sewer extension.
Valerie?
I move to adopt the ordinance creating the developer-installed reimbursement district, CC 6578, for the East Street sewer extension and have it read by title only, second reading.
Seconded by Rick. Any discussion? All right, Valerie, you made the motion to approve. How do you vote?
Yes,
Brian?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
DJ?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Vanessa?
yes,
Motion passes 8-0.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass creating a developer-installed reimbursement district, CC 6578, for the East Street Sewer Extension.
Thank you. Next up, we're going to consider a resolution establishing a Public Safety Advisory Committee.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. I'm introducing the subject of discussing Council's desire to facilitate a community public safety advisory committee as discussed in some previous workshops. We have brought that forward based on the spirit of your discussions in a format where you can adopt a resolution to create an advisory committee. The purpose of the advisory committee, based on the notes and what was discussed in the council workshops, is to advise council on matters pertaining to community engagement, do some research and analysis, community facilitation, and resource identification. And when I talk about public safety, I'm talking about police, fire, and support services. The committee would help facilitate communication between the public and the city. It's not intended to act as an oversight group or be involved with day-to-day operations. It is not also to act as a complaint or conflict resolution group, but more of an advisory group to the city council. To be more specific, the purpose of the advisory committee serves as a collaborative platform for community engagement and guidance on public safety matters. The committee aims to bridge the gap between the community and the council, ensuring that public safety strategies align with the needs and the resources of the community. Broken it down to a couple of key responsibilities. The first would be the advisory role, to provide informed recommendations to the city council on public safety funding and budget priorities. Second item would be community engagement, to facilitate open dialogues with the community members to gather input on public safety concerns and priorities, and organize forums and workshops to help exchange information when it comes to public safety issues. Two other key responsibilities would be research and analysis, to conduct research so you understand the public safety trends and funding and what other communities are doing. And then also communication facilitation between the public, council, and disseminate information based on their findings. As discussed, we're looking at a makeup of 9 committee members, and those are on the screen behind me. And those 9 committee members would serve staggered terms of 3 years. Call to action is at your council discretion. You can adopt the resolution with modifications, move to additional meetings, take no action, or other as identified by council. And with that, Mayor, I turn it over to you for questions.
Do you have any questions? No questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who's wanting to speak on this issue? Please state your name and let us know whether or not you live in the city.
Alan Hartford, city resident. I think all of you saw my email I sent to council. The intent behind this was to sort of demonstrate some of the things that this community group has been sort of trying to do. We're trying to facilitate. As you well know, there was a significant concern with the funding issues that have come up in the past. And this group sort of born up out of a group of people that wanted to get together and try and help out as best we can. As pointed out, we know that one of the major concerns is in other cities is the public safety committees sometimes dabble in day-to-day operations or become an oversight group. This is not, at least from my perspective and all the people I've been working with, this is not our perspective at all. Our perspective simply is there to provide information, if needed, to assist staff in trying to research some of these issues, because staff time is very valuable. And when you can get other people from the community involved, that helps. And also to help assist in buy-in. When you all make a decision, then this committee can go out there and assist in informing the public as to why it's important and answer any questions. Now, we're not there to speak for staff. We're not there to speak for council. We're there more as a tool that we hope that you guys can see some value in and use. So I support this, as you all know from my email, and hope that it moves forward. And again, I realize that it's an application process, and I may not be involved with it, and that's okay, but I feel it's an important thing that this community needs, and I think it's a direct conduit to the community. So thank you very much.
Good evening, Jay Meredith, resident of the city. I am also here speaking to you as a member of the informal public safety kind of advisory group that we had going in the last 6 months. The part of the genesis of this recommendation to you tonight was that the business community and certain members of the public, there was lots of opportunities during the public safety funding discussions. There were plenty of opportunities to come hear presentations from the city and from our police and fire folks, but there wasn't much opportunity for back and forth for the business community and members of the public to give their opinion to you and felt like they were heard. So that's part of the genesis of this. The other is really to help us keep our eye on the ball in terms of keeping in touch, in regular touch with what public safety, police and fire really need. So it's been maybe 6 months since we came to at least an intermediate term stopping point on that public safety funding discussion. And despite the extreme urgency of our police chief and fire chief's request for more staffing, that topic hasn't really been discussed at all in the last 6 months. So this committee, I think, can really help facilitate keeping our eye on the ball. I've reviewed overtime reports for police, and coincidentally, I talked to a couple of our fire guys earlier today, and they need some help. And we have, in my opinion, we have the financial capacity to give them some of that help right away. So I would encourage you to approve this committee, and I would encourage the committee to meet on at least a monthly basis for the first year, because there are a lot of problems, urgent problems that need to be solved, and this committee can help with that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wanting to speak tonight on this issue? No. Okay, we'll close the public comment and turn it over to council for discussion. Brian.
So since this was brought from council, I saved my question for now because, it's really our discussion, but what are we trying to get out of this? There's a list of, there's 2 slides worth of responsibilities, in a draft form for this committee. So I guess I'm just asking council, why are we forming it? What is the goal of us forming it? And I do have a question about the community engagement piece, because I don't think we have other committees that really go out and do that piece. So I'm not totally sure how that works with authorizing the committee to do public outreach. So I just want some clarity from the rest of council.
Valerie.
Well, having been on council for 9 years, involved in the very beginning with securing our safety and looking at the public safety, police and fire issues that our community has, I've always felt that the 3-minute little time blurbs that come here and there don't really give the community, because we hear a lot of complaints and a lot of questions and a lot of information that people want to know about. And I think that there really are a lot of people in the community who do know a lot about public safety and have some ideas, which is what kind of our other committees do, is if they have an idea or something that they bring forth, they can bring it forth for us to look at. And I think something as important as public safety, which is the #1 most important thing that we do, should be something that has a broader base in the community, because I've been trying for years to get information out there, and it takes more than just the council, because a lot of times, and what I've seen is the council is the bad guy because we're looking for more money or looking for whatever, but we rarely get the opportunity to really have community discussion about what are our real issues, how do we inform and educate and get out what the message is. And I know that now that I'll be leaving the council, that's the one thing that I don't really feel is there, is a community action-based help us get the information and get the real facts out there, because I don't have the time as a counselor. You know, I've got my finger on transportation, water. I mean, there's so many things we have to do, and know that I can't possibly do and know as much as I need to know to really make some of these big decisions. And I hear all the time what should be happening out there, but I really think there are people in the community that would help us do a better job of looking at what are some of the options. You know, we've talked about wanting to get comparative factors for other cities. We don't always really get them in depth, but some of these things can be researched further. And I just think that having a team of people out there who are, you know, involved and our community people who can help us get some of the messaging out of what our needs are is important. And that's why I really feel, and it really came to a head through this last funding, you know, session that we went through, and it kind of stopped at a headlock. And it's just like, how do we there are people out there who want to help and want to know and want to help educate people as to what are our needs, but sometimes it just comes through us. I think it would be nice to have more people involved with that.
Joel?
Well, one of the members of this group was Josh Ballard from All Care, and he's a lobbyist for All Care at the state level and dealt with elections a lot. And one of his criticisms of us as policymakers in whatever method we choose to do is it's been a kind of a top-down situation that faces a lot of resistance. And so what's the alternative to that, to a top-down business where we up here tell people how we want to fund it? And it's not that we can't interact with that and facilitate the bottom-up swelling, because I think people are willing to support public safety. And there are different mechanisms, and some of them are controversial and will need that support. And we just can't dictate to them. And so I think it's a way politically to have some social acceptability and also be respectful of broadening the power base of making decisions in this important area. When I was talking to Sherwood, which by the way also put up a really nice park, like we're getting on the Owl Parklet. It almost looks identical to it, and it looks really nice. But I was talking to the mayor. I just happened to run into her at the Chamber of Commerce just by accident. Judy and I were walking downtown with the grandkids, and they have a committee like this, and they're gathering a lot of community support for what they need to do as a community. And it isn't just a top-down type of decision-making. It's involving the community in an effective manner where things can float up and decisions can be made to do what the community thinks needs to be done. So I thought that was good, and Josh was very supportive of that as well, as were the other members of that group.
Dwayne?
Just make it short. I want to echo everything that Valerie said. I think this is exactly what the county did for their sheriff's thing a little bit, to get buy-in from the community to pass their law enforcement district, is getting people involved. And I don't think people understand that the counselors have so many other committees and things involved with it. It's kind of overburdened of like, we have to be everything. I think that people need to get involved, and this is a way for them to get involved and maybe get experts that we're not experts in everything. You know, we get briefed. So I think it'd be great to have, you know, the Allens out there that love firefighting and want to get things going, and other people that are involved with this kind of stuff that really, this is their lane, so I'm going to be in favor of passing this because I don't see a reason not to pass it. We can always get rid of it if there's a problem with these people. We are the council, that's the way I look at it. So let's try it and see what happens, and maybe we'll finally get something passed for the city that, or whatever great idea they come with it, to help our law enforcement and, you know, firefighters out. That's all I got.
Brian?
Mayor?
Oh, go ahead, Vanessa.
I think an unspoken aspect of value for this committee as well is the data collection. Thank you for that spreadsheet that you had provided, Mr. Hartford. In reviewing it, you can see that with other comparable fire departments, they are actually operating at a higher realized strength and their budgets are lower than ours. And so I know when we've had these discussions and we have received budgets and data points from staff, we know that they have typically been moving targets. And so I think a more in-depth data collection to help us understand the holistic picture for people that are subject matter experts and really passionate about this, I think that would help us in making long-term planning decisions as well. Thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, thank you for the clarification, everybody. I don't see any harm in doing this per se. I'm a little skeptical of what may come of it because I think, you know, previously when we were looking at funding, you know, there was plenty of opportunity for people to bring ideas forward, and people did bring ideas forward, and we weighed those ideas. So that piece has happened and would continue to happen. I don't know if, Aaron, if you have an idea about the parameters of authorization of public outreach that this committee would have, because we don't have other committees that do public outreach. So are we just giving them a charge and sending them loose, or do you have any idea how that would work?
That's a great question, Counselor. I would be cautious about charging them with the responsibility of outreach to the public. They're volunteers, they're not sworn agents of the city. I think that if anything, they would be coming up with ideas and comments and recommendations on maybe forums and other things, but that would be staff and council led and driven. That's where you have your control in the message that you're sending out, and there's responsibility associated with that. You take an oath. We have city staff that are hired as professionals, and those are volunteers. So I believe it would be important for the messaging and even the gathering of the information primarily be associated in-house with those two groups.
Okay, thank you. So on the responsibilities, community engagement, facilitate open dialogues with community members. I don't see a problem with that. Organizing forums and workshops, hopefully in concert with staff. I don't see a problem with that. The last one down below, disseminate information to the community. I think that might be the one that I'm referring to. So that one, I don't know if I'm totally comfortable with the language on that particular bullet, but I think I'm okay with the rest.
Further discussion? DJ?
Yeah, I'm going to tend to agree with a hint of skepticism. I can certainly see community buy-in and benefit for communication, a vehicle, community to council, sure. I think that skepticism was spelled out pretty well. The other thought I have is typically our advisory committees have actionable items that they focus on. You know, we could use Housing Advisory Committee as an example. They have actionable items that they deliberate on that are posted, and that's what they talk about. I can see that being a little bit challenging if we're going to be calling this an advisory committee that is likened to all the other advisory committees that we have. But like I said, going in with a little skepticism, but also focusing on the good that could potentially come from this.
Rick?
I also feel maybe further elaboration on disseminating information, that it be acknowledged that the committee doesn't take the forefront and does not take its own initiative on that dissemination, but it be coordinated with city staff and so forth, because otherwise you could have quite a bit of conflict occurring there. And think that needs to be defined and clearly the boundaries set up on that. Thank you.
Valerie?
Yeah, if disseminate is not, I think basically the whole purpose is just to have a bigger voice in the community. So sharing information to the community is basically that comes through the initiatives, because the initiative, any initiative has got to come through council. They can't make up the initiatives. I mean, the whole idea is they're advising council. So the council is the one that comes up with the levies and the funding opportunities and those issues. Those are the ones that are just talked about. So basically, they're just helping to share that out into the community, which is, I kind of think, part of where our void is to be able to get more people in the community that are more educated and know more information about, from being involved directly, working with the staff and working with the council, that they'll have that information and they'll know where we're coming from, so they'll be able to help get that information out. So I think it's more sharing. I don't know if disseminate's kind of the same thing, but I think that, I mean, I would expect if I went to somebody in the Parks Advisory Committee and that they'd know something about what was going on in the parks because they're kind of a part of it. I would expect that. So, so they just become a voice for what is going on with the staff and the council. So I guess I just don't see that worry so much, because I don't think, I think it, like they said, it's not to override the council, it's not to do any of those things. It's not to override day-to-day operations, it's just basically to get information out. You know, when the council makes a decision and decides to go with something, they'll know what that something is, and they can just help us to get the information out to more people in the community.
Rick?
I tend to agree with Valerie in what she stated, because when you read the actual resolutions, items 1, 2, and 3, they seem to reinforce that perspective. So I'm more comfortable with the actual wording in the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, so it's there for motion.
All right, it sounds like there's strong interest in establishing the committee. We're just a little hung up on the details maybe here regarding community engagement and communication facilitation. So I think you could, if anybody has a suggestion of wording where you want to add a couple words to that description, or I think you could vote to pass the resolution and we could follow up with just clarifying the job description afterwards, if you're comfortable with that, to clarify that the group wouldn't be going rogue, so to speak, with disseminating their own information, but that they would be disseminating information as a liaison of the council. Brian?
Oh, sorry.
Or Val? Okay, Brian.
Sorry, yeah, I was just going to suggest maybe for that disseminate information to the community piece, the wording you just used, Mayor, and it's already gone out of my head, but in concert with council, I think it was something like that. So it's a little more buttoned up, so to speak. I think just adding something like that would probably alleviate my concern. And then before, I don't want to make a motion yet, because I just wanted to see if everyone's in agreement on the breakdown of the membership of the committee. Budget committee member, Chamber of Commerce member, business owner, nonprofit representative, a downtown representative, and 2 at-large positions with police, fire, and council liaisons.
Valerie.
I just had somebody talk to me in one of the other meetings I was at, and that was Tim Sweeney, and he said, wow, that would be great for the school district to have somebody. And I don't know if they could put themselves in as a nonprofit, because basically they are. I don't know if, I don't know whether that muddies the water, or whether when they have these meetings, if somebody has something they go to, they could go to it, the meeting just like anybody else to say, hey, I've got this concern, bring it to the advisory committee. But anyway, that's the only other input that I got from anyone.
Dwayne.
I'd be in favor of taking nonprofit. They don't even pay taxes, for one thing. So I don't understand why so many of our committees have a nonprofit involved there. We have 2 at large. I think if someone wants to be involved, they can be it, but I don't understand why the nonprofit part needs to be there. So I would be in favor of striking that out.
In theory, that nonprofit representative, I think, could be your school representative. Brian?
Yeah, the breakdown, I mean, budget committee member, that makes sense. Chamber of Commerce is essentially a business member, and then we have a business member, and then we have a downtown, which is a business member. So, you know, we've got a budget committee, 3 business members, 2 at large, and then the nonprofit. If we take out the nonprofit, then it's pretty business heavy, so I don't know that I'd be in favor of that. Yeah, either as is or changing the nonprofit to another at-large position.
Valerie?
Well, I'm just going to say, because I know we have a lot of nonprofits in our community, we really do, based upon a lot of things. So I don't mind having a nonprofit. That could actually be a school rep, I mean, depending on who wanted to be on the committee. So a school rep, a school is a nonprofit, so they could put themselves in that position or at a large position. So I'm okay, and I'm comfortable with the way it is right now, personally.
DJ?
I could get behind 3 at large and no strict nonprofit membership.
I guess the question to ask is who you're wanting this group to represent or reach out to, and whether it needs to be identified by these categories of citizens, and also whether it's important for you to be Grants Pass residents, because sometimes people fit one of these categories of being a business owner or a Chamber of Commerce employee or something like that, but they're not actually a Grants Pass resident. Dwayne?
Well, if they're a business owner, they're paying taxes in the city. They got a business license, so I think they represent the city. So, and that's what we hear from our business people all the time. They don't get to vote, but they pay taxes. So I'm not opposed to putting a business person on there in any way. And I would be in favor of the 3 at large, which gives homeowners or people that are actually, other people that pay taxes more representation, which I think that needs to be on there, is more homeowners or other people that own property in the city.
Brian?
I'm inclined to mostly agree with you, Dwayne, except the at-large positions, in theory, those could be filled, you know, by, you know, someone that owns, like a landlord or something. I would like at least one of those positions to be a Grants Pass resident, non-business owner, just so it's explicitly like a regular person, you know? Yeah, and one regular Joe. Yeah.
Aaron?
The residency requirement is something that has come up in years past, over the years with different advisory committees. And we've noticed in some advisory committees that we've recognized that it's been heavy with volunteers that do not reside within the city in some committees, and that's been discussed and changed. That's something that I think you've hit on a target with regards to this committee. If any committee is out there, this may be the one that you want to have heavy residents that are voters, because you're talking the largest investment in the city operations, and that's the people that represent public safety, police, fire, sports services. That's our biggest expense. That's our most valuable resource. And with the membership you have here, you can have almost no one living within the city making recommendations to you that don't vote on a potential opportunity for funding solutions to stabilize our public safety situation.
Rob?
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective, Aaron, but I don't know if I completely agree with it. I think if we were to take out, if we were to remove the nonprofit representative, there's a good potential that everyone else on this list, in one form or another, is a stakeholder and would be paying taxes in the city. As Dwayne pointed out, I mean, business owners are going to be paying taxes. In one form or another, even if someone's a renter, through their landlord, they're paying taxes in the city, et cetera. So the only safeguard that would be broached, so to speak, is if we allowed a nonprofit representative who may also not live in the city. Now, there's a person who, doesn't pay any taxes in the city whatsoever. So that to me is a really good reason to remove that slot. I guess at-large people, or I guess even, Chamber of Commerce does have people that are business owners outside the city limits, and they could potentially live outside the city limits as well, in which case now they're not a taxpayer in any way, shape, or form. So, I guess I share that concern that I would want it to be primarily, if not exclusively, people who in one form or another pay taxes in the city, and you could have a Chamber of Commerce member whose business is outside the city limits and also lives outside the city limits. That's a person that I wouldn't really value their opinion as much. I just wouldn't. As a counselor, I wouldn't. As a independent citizen, I might, but as a counselor, I don't know that I would. So what to do with that, I'm not sure, but it's definitely a reason for me to remove the nonprofit representative.
Aaron.
Yeah, Councilor Pell, I agree with you 100%. I just wanted to make sure it's a nuanced thing, that what I was speaking of is a voter, not a taxpayer. The nonprofit would not be a taxpayer, but you can pay taxes and not vote, and not be able to vote by owning property but not living here. So there's a key difference when it comes to you wanting to pass a measure. Do you have members that are making recommendations that have the ability to vote and will impact them in certain ways versus someone that pays taxes? So those are just two issues there. I think two different target people that pay taxes and then people that are residents within the community.
Rick and then Brian.
I would be comfortable adding the verbiage in there that those individuals are taxpayers within the city, because you have a lot of business people that live out in the county and they pay taxes here, and then they feel they don't have the opportunity to express themselves. Thank you.
Brian.
Yeah, I'm going to take a crack at a motion. I move to approve the resolution creating the Public Safety Advisory Committee with amending responsibilities section D, bullet 2, that talks about disseminating information, to just add language about disseminating information, working with staff and council, and then amending the membership to remove the nonprofit representative and replace that with a city resident non-business owner.
Is there a second? Valerie. All right. Is there a discussion on that motion? Joel.
I'm not sure if you'd want to amend your motion, Brian. One of the things I'm thinking of is senior citizens and high school students. They're both fairly unrepresented. Senior citizens vote, and they also have different concerns than business owners, especially if they're retired, and high school students have a different perspective as well. And I don't know what we want to do with that, but it's just a thought.
Well, you said city resident non-business owner, so I guess what are you asking for?
Well, I was thinking of, rather than saying that, having a senior citizen and a high school student.
Oh.
I'm not going to die on my sword for it. I just thought we needed to bring up the idea because there's a lot of older people in this community.
Yeah.
Brian.
I'll let it be and we'll see where it ends up.
All right. Further discussion on the motion? Rob?
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out now, we've got, with Brian's motion, is everyone on this group either going to be a Grants Pass city voter or a Grants Pass city taxpayer? Because those are people that I'm most interested as a counselor in taking into consideration. If someone is a registered voter in the city or if they are a city taxpayer.
The only change he made was to remove the nonprofit representative and replace it with a city resident, non-business owner. So
I understand that's the only
I think
change that
in
he
the
made.
other positions, the way that I read it, your Chamber of Commerce, it just says one Chamber of Commerce. That could be a Chamber of Commerce employee. It could be a Chamber of Commerce member. They could own a business, they could own property, they could live in the city, they could live out of the city. We have no idea. It says one Chamber of Commerce. Go ahead, Dwayne.
I would make a suggestion, Brian, if we could make sure the business owner has a business in the city limits, not just a business owner.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That would make it, definitely help me a little bit better. So-
Sure, I'll amend the motion so that the business owner is a business owner inside the city.
Okay, so that's the position where it says one business. We're now calling that a business owner with a business inside the city? They don't have to live in the city. The business needs to be inside the city.
Correct.
Okay. And Valerie, do you agree with that amendment? Okay. Owner. Rob?
So wouldn't an easy way to say that really be a business owner would have a Grants Pass business license? Business license and Grants Pass? But, I mean, I'd like to see everyone either have to be again, registered to vote in Grants Pass or have a Grants Pass business license. And that basically, to me, it tightens it up to the people that are the actual stakeholders, as opposed to, you know, someone from the county who may own a business or may not or whatever. So, but to me, I'd like to see everybody there either be registered to vote in Grants Pass or have a Grants Pass business license.
Brian?
Yeah, I think the amendment pretty much covers that for the businesses. The only one that may potentially not fit that criteria is the Chamber of Commerce member, because in theory, you know, they could not fit that criteria. However, they represent hundreds of businesses in the city, and I think that is a valid position to have on the committee.
I guess one thing, so it says one downtown. Are y'all interpreting that to be a downtown business owner? Yes? Okay.
I wasn't. It could easily be a downtown landlord, but just to me, it's a downtown.
I just want consensus on what it means. It just says one downtown. Do you want to get more specific than that? I think people were nodding their head at you. Want to just leave it at one downtown? Okay, that's what it says. Is there further discussion on this motion? I'll clarify. So the motion was to adopt the committee, approve the committee, but on section D, bullet point 2, disseminate information working with staff and council to the community regarding public safety initiatives, funding opportunities, and related issues. And then in the qualifications, the makeup of the committee, we're going to have one budget committee, one Chamber of Commerce, one business owner in the city limits, one downtown, 2 at-large, and 1 city resident non-business owner. Any further discussion on that? All right, Brian, you made the motion. How do you vote?
Yes.
Rick?
With the amendment, yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
DJ?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. All righty. Next up, we're going to consider a resolution that would adopt allowable locations for camping in accordance with Ordinance Number 24-5910.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. I'm here to introduce the subject of designating sites for our resting locations. In this situation, we're looking at the removal of the temporary site on 6th and 8th Street and adding the site 7112 Northeast 7th Street as an identified resting location. This is in alignment with council's desires from the beginning of this program to have the 712 Northeast 7th site as a location, but due to some encumbrances, including a building and some other work that needed to be done, we were not able to have that site ready upon the initiation of this program. I'm pleased to say that it is now ready and ready to be operated once and if this resolution is passed. So we'll be looking at removing the 6&A, which is here on the corner. We would be replacing it with the 712 Northeast 7th Street. It'd be providing the same level of service as the 6th and 8th Street with regards to the number of porta potties and the dumpsters and the hand washing station, dog waste, bag receptacles, and cigarette disposal. So like for like service. Here's a picture of it right now. This was taken just earlier this afternoon, where we have the site ready to go. If the resolution is approved, we will then begin the transition from 6th and 8th Street to the location in 712 Northeast 7th Street. All three locations would be operational for a short amount of time as we're providing notice to those individuals that are on 6 and A, providing them the week notice, the week-long stay that council has identified in the ability for them to rest, and then also any additional associated with state law. The other site, which is still in operation and functional, and it is temporary in nature, as I mentioned, and we know before, this is our future water treatment plant site, and we're looking at this site being temporary until approximately May. No level of service changes there. Again, the resolution in front of you is to now declare the 712 Northeast 7th Street as one of the resting sites and removing the 6th and 8th Street. Your alternatives are adopt the resolution as presented, adopt the resolution with changes, move to additional discussion, or take no action. Costs are minimal. There is a small cost because we're going to be operating 3 for another week or 2, and then once we take the 6 and 8 down, we'll be back to 2 again. And a potential motion is in front of you. With that, Mayor, I turn it over for questions.
Thanks, Aaron. It sounds like you're estimating it could take up to about 2 weeks to transition people.
Yes, that's what we anticipate.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions? Brian?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. So the current site is 0.5 acres?
Yes.
And the new site is 0.32 acres, so
Yes.
it's approximately 40-ish% smaller. Do you foresee any sort of additional capacity issues by moving to a smaller site?
When we look at capacity issues, we really should be also considering the J Street site because we're looking at full capacity for both sites. So if one of the sites is full, there is still, and another site has availability, then we still have capacity. There is a potential that whatever sites we have in the future, one may be either more popular or maybe a different size, but the key is what is our capacity that we have to serve those unhoused individuals that need to rest.
Okay, and just to be clear, if we come into a scenario where both of those sites are at capacity, what is the procedure for how enforcement will be carried out if the sites are at capacity?
Yeah, we're monitoring that on a regular basis and with the space that we have, and it comes with the monitoring of the service levels and monitoring the calls for service that we're receiving in the areas in and around the resting locations. A full capacity issue will not be something that's a surprise. It's not like a natural disaster that happens tomorrow. This is something that we'd be able to track and be able to take a look at in the future. If we're getting to that point, we would need to have a discussion with council on what our alternatives would be. And if we do get to that point, then I would be coming to you with those concerns.
Okay, thanks.
Valerie?
How has the movement been between, like with the 7-day? moving between the two sites, if I could get kind of some idea from public safety, if there has been an issue with movement between J Street getting to the different site when they are asked to move at the 7-day limit?
No, nothing comes to mind. It's been going fairly smooth. Most people are cooperative and respectful, so not many issues.
Any other questions at the time? Brian?
Yeah, Aaron, do you, I know we're going to be potentially shutting this site down as people move to the other site. Do you foresee any scenario where we would need to keep this site kind of on reserve, so to speak, in case there was like a major incident at another site and we had to move everybody out, or has that been a consideration yet?
No, good. That's a great question, and that's something that's in the back of my mind as we're managing this, and it's still relatively new to us, is we should have, you know, on deck the potential of 1 or 2 additional sites, and I think we do, and this would potentially be one of those additional fallbacks. If something occurred to one of the other 2 sites, say a major water main break, and all of a sudden that one site is just totally you know, uprooted, and we have to have another location. I think there's 1 or 2 sites in the 6th and 8th Street site, as long as it's available, would be a potential overflow location or an emergency setup site.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Joel?
Well, I was going to make the motion, so
Oh, we
I'll
haven't
be
done public
quiet.
comment yet. Okay. No questions at this time. We'll turn it over.
Thank you.
If anybody wanted to speak on this issue, please step up to this podium in the middle and let us know your name and whether or not you're a city resident.
Hi, my name's Sunshine, and I'm not sure if I'm considered a resident here, but I definitely stay in these camps with these people. I've been staying there in these camps since they opened, and it's not nice. It's inhumane. It hurts the wounded feet. I mean, these crippled people. We have people who are severely handicapped there that need help that they're not getting. The water, it's sufficient enough, but it's not enough for these people to bathe. And there's just not enough resources for them to gather themselves over again. And right now, I wish my friend had showed up here. He's severely handicapped. I would say he's an idiot savant. His gift is botany. He can grow things. And yesterday morning, he was attacked by other residents because he's awful. And then the cops came and arrested him. Last night, he returned to me, and he's manic, and he was attacked again. And I don't really know what to do. Oh, but we need to think of something else, because this isn't working, and moving us to a smaller place is definitely not going to be good. We're used to living out in the woods, away from each other. And I know it's been messy and not right. I remember coming here and thinking, oh God, the trash here is not good. And I know why you guys want to move us, because you don't want us to gather too much stuff, but they need supplies. We need places to cook. We need to be able to clean ourselves. We need to be able to clean up after ourselves and keep the equipment. And we just need you guys to look more into this. I don't know what else to say. Thank you for hearing me.
Is there anyone else who wanted to speak on this issue? You need to pull that microphone down, ma'am. There you go.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Sanders. I'm at Site A. I'm disabled. I have a letter stating that I cannot be moved because I just had major neck surgery. I have 8 bolts and 4 bars in my neck. I'm only 3 weeks out, and I have to move. I've been given 2 citations, and I have to move. I can't. I have no ability to move. There's more than 87 tenants at J Street. 87. There's 40 here. We will not fit in the other spot. There's no way. We fight, we argue, there's no way to cook, there's no way to bathe. There's empty buildings, mini apartments, little studio apartments. Get us out of the tents, help us get out of the tents. We beg you, all we want is running water and power. We can't charge our phones to talk to our families if we have family. Some of us don't have family. I don't have the ability to move, and I have to move. Otherwise I'm gonna be arrested. I have two beautiful dogs that are my service animals. My dog just had puppies. When I got out of jail, I'm out of hospital, I found out that she was pregnant. So now I have 4 puppies. I have 2 kennels. I can't move the kennels. I have a 2-pound weight limit. I don't know what to do. We need help. We're asking for a hand up, not a handout. We don't want you guys to just pity us. We're not on display, but we're being shamed and humiliated. For some, it's humbling. Some, it's just, we're being spit on, we're being called names, we're being called tweakers. There's some that don't even use drugs. So we're being underlined as drug addicts and dope fiends and called names.
Thank you. That means your time is up. Sorry, I forgot to explain
okay.
at the beginning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, City Council, Mayor. My name's Kathleen Crone, and I am a city resident. I'm concerned about a third site. Does that mean that the $325,000 that you've already allotted is going to be enough? I mean, this is my concern, that this just keeps growing and expanding and expanding. Can we keep it to 2 sites? Most of the counties and cities around us have 1 site, if a site at all. And I'm concerned about the way this is spreading. So I hope you will take into consideration that once this all gets in place, it's probably not going to go away. Even if there's good intentions to have it just 2 to 3 years, or however long we need to get this under control, it really needs to be thought about, especially coming out of the general fund. And where are the nonprofits that are supposed to be helping with this? Is it UCAN? Is it Mint? Are they not helping these people move? So, I mean, I thought this was fairly collaborated with, that the nonprofits were helping with this. So I'm just a little confused, and I hope that this doesn't spin out into something that is way out of control. Thank you.
Hi, Ms. Bristol, and is it okay to go ahead? Okay, the one thing that I think that might be important to think about is the weather and when the river floods. The book that I came across in a library out of state, we're going into how the cold cycles go and the long-term cold cycles go, wet cycles, and it's flooded to the point where they've had to move, the trailers out on the other side of the river, and they've had to move that in and out where all the flooding takes place. But I think that it's important to keep as much ground as possible for the situation, and less alternatives are around for that situation. So even though it's a smaller site, and maybe as things get corrected, this one maybe here could be kept in mind for that emergency that might happen. But, and as some people may possibly get houses or move or whatever they're doing, but concerning the weather cycle, and I believe it's a 22-year cycle. It's in a library reference, colder, hotter. It snowed 6 feet when I was a little tiny thing, all the way down to the river. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wanting to speak on this issue?
Paul McGuire, lifetime residence, Grants Pass. I want to know, since you guys shoved this J Street down the throat of the businesses down there, are you going to reimburse them for the damages that these people have done? My friend with R&M Lumber Company, they've destroyed one of his trailers, knifing the trailer. He's got video. They have just literally are destroying his stuff. The police has been down there, but those companies, these people are destroying his stuff. And so somebody's got to do something. You guys dropped the bomb on them companies down there. And so we've been going to the parks, and the police have stopped coming into the parks, period. And we had to call them on Sunday, and one individual got arrested. But they are not coming into the parks no more. Since you guys ran them out and put them in there, you have stopped. Upper management, you all have failed. You have all failed Grants Pass, and we're tired of it. So, you better do something. You guys, I hope you're all gone.
Andrew Nicholas, Grants Pass. I'm so disappointed to be here tonight in this situation. There's no reason we should be in this situation. I'm following the gentleman before me. This has been years in the making with nothing done. I feel so bad for the women who got up here who are having to live in these campsites. I feel so bad for the businesses that are struggling, getting things stolen, losing customers, cleaning up garbage daily. I feel bad for the residents who don't feel safe in our community. There are solutions, but every week or meeting every other week, some of you say, why aren't you giving us solutions? I don't hear solutions from anyone. We elected you as leaders to get solutions. You should be getting the solutions. And people do give you solutions a lot, but you don't act on them. And now here we are, years later, in a crisis where now you're putting people in a caged areas like a zoo. And we're all suffering. We need to help the mentally ill and get them off the streets. It is cruel and inhumane. We need more beds for the addicted. You could take some of that money that you're enabling these campsites. It is so bad. So there are lots of things you can do, and I just wish you would think long term and not just.
Good evening, Victoria Marshall, Grants Pass. Issue far too much for far too long. The business of our city cannot continue to be in the homeless camp business. We are not required to do it, and we need to get on to the business of doing other things. Continuing to focus every city council meeting on this issue is putting other issues that are really the business of the city council on the back burner. There are solution camps, but it is not something that our city council should be providing for them. It's not safe for them. It's not humane. People are dying. There are attempted rapes in those camps. It is something that you guys just need to say, okay, we're out of this business and we're going to move on. We are going to give this to the people who are more equipped to deal with it, to nonprofits. There are many, I believe there are 70 operating in our county, and they are much better prepared than you folks up there to deal with that. And it is not something that our city residents should have to pay for over law enforcement or over other important things. There are better solutions for these people in this position. Thank you.
Catherine County. I was at a J Street last week, and we're talking to a woman who is physically messed up. She's an older lady, she's mental probably issues. As a young man right behind us is smoking something out of a glass pipe. And my nephew's going, what they're smoking? I don't know, I don't want to know. Oh, well, it's fentanyl. I don't want to know. Maybe it's just me, maybe there's been more instances than that. It seems almost like drug use, drug abuse, dealing in front of us has gone up in the last month. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. It's nuts. But I had a woman ask me a couple weeks ago, what's the answer? I said, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not in the trenches. I go out there, I see some people, I talk to some people. There's women out there that are scared, as been said. They're scared for their lives, they're scared, they can't sleep at night. Once the zombies come out, my term, it's nuts. It's nuts. But I said they need to talk to people that are in trenches. You want to know what the answer is? Talk to the people in the trenches. Talk to the people. Mint's out there. I asked somebody the other day, who's been coming out here? Mint. Well, is there anybody? No, Mint's the only one that really comes through. That's from them, that's not for me. I don't know where the other 90 people are, 90 or 70 or however many other nonprofits there are, but I'd sure like to see some more of them out there and get some of these medical people safe, not just thrown on gravel where they got to try to go with their scooters over the gravel. There's an answer somewhere.
Thank you. I want to remind everybody that the topic before the council right now is really a resolution that would close the 6th and A site and open a new site on 7th Street adjacent to the police station. That's really the only issue that we're considering at this time.
Shoni Nelson, Grants Pass resident. And you had great timing on that, since mine is probably not exactly about that, but at the same time it is.
If it's not exactly on that, we'd like you to wait until the open public comment.
And I can make part of it pertain to that if you would like, Sarah. Now, I have been to J and Mill.
All right, the council's going to take a recess right now for 5 minutes.
Wow, sorry guys. I'm great at being in timeout, aren't I?
All right, welcome back to the meeting. We are going to continue public comment on this issue regarding the resolution that would adopt allowable locations for the camping. And I want everybody to please stick to the topic. And Councilor Yunker is going to help explain this.
I voluntold myself, so you can get mad at me, I guess. The topic at hand for this action is from closing down one site and moving it to another site. The next topic will be open discussion, and that'll give you all the time to talk about whatever you want. So if you can just let us get to this action item, which is either you are in disagreement of closing down 6th and A Street, come up and speak. If you're not, you also could talk about it, but that should be the topic at hand. And then we'll go to open comments, and you can complain about anything you want, and we will sit here and take notes.
Thank you, Dwayne. All right, who was going to speak next? Shoni.
I'm good. I'll wait.
Okay, is there anybody else who wants to speak on this topic regarding the two sites here at 6th and 7th Street?
Sean Drury, city resident. Just a couple facts about the thing. Today, I'm from Dove Ministries, and we serve on Wednesdays. We were set up at U-turn for Christ near the parks when everybody was still in the parks. But my question is today there was 88 people at J Street that we fed, and then we fed 26 people here. When you want the 88 people to move, there's not room for 88 people at A Street. And if you're going to close down A Street and go to 7th Street, which is even smaller than A Street, it doesn't really make sense to me. The math doesn't work out. And my thought is just to keep all 3 spots open. Then maybe find a bigger spot because there's a lot of people out there that need help. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wanted to speak on this issue?
My name's Lionheart. I've been here in Grants Pass for the most part since June. And I would agree with the gentleman who just spoke. If you crunch the numbers, the math does not work. Because you're not only looking at an 8x8 size, but your mandate is that no other tent can be within 6 feet of that 8x8. So you're looking at 14 by 14. And people are receiving citations, they're being ticketed. And even those of us who are moving every week are receiving notification, 72-hour notification, having only been in a place for 2 days or 3 days. So those of us who are trying to fulfill the letter of the law are having a really tough time when the letter of the law is an impossibility to fulfill, especially for those who have disabilities, who are elderly, who don't have the help that they need. I appreciate the efforts you have made, and I appreciate that there is a space for people to be able to rest, as you say. The additional stress that people are under to live in this manner and to move is immense. The cortisol levels that people are having to deal with. If you look at the sociology of it, if you look at the psychology of it, you are putting people at death's door, and it's really, really tough. I appreciate your consideration in keeping all 3 areas open, and maybe even looking into some other areas like J Street that have a larger footprint that allow people for their physical safety and psychological safety to have a little more space in between them. Thank you.
I won't use the 2 minutes. Mike Pelfrey. So what I would like to, perhaps the city to concentrate on is maybe getting the vagrants that are being given a place to rest so that they can then go back out into our town and create even more problems for our police and for our community. If we got the vagrants out of these locations, then I think that we would be able to concentrate on the folks that actually need the help the most. So, you know, I still can't understand why we keep calling it a place for resting. I mean, I do understand that some people are resting, but the vagrants, that's the last thing that they do is rest. But yet we give them a place to go lay down so that they can go back out and disrespect our community daily. Work on the vagrants, then we have more resources for the people that actually need the help. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Shoni Nelson, Grants Pass. And it is speaking on this time. And mine is this. I mean, I hear Lionheart over here speaking a second ago about open things, making things bigger, doing this. A lot of us have big hearts, we try to help. But at the same time, when you help people that break into like big trucks, and then they sleep in the bed of those big trucks when you've given them a place to stay, it makes it hard for you guys. I get it. You guys are trying. And I mean, I don't hear a lot of people saying that. We're supposed to be coming together as a community. And like Lionheart, actually, okay? Lionheart is a landscaper, right? I've watched him. I've seen him film. I don't know what actually he is, but he is something. I've talked to him. And it was interesting. I offered him a job, okay? And he talks about the numbers don't add up. Well, he has a tent inside the facility that helps the numbers not add up. I wonder how many other people have tents inside of facilities that talk about numbers not adding up, okay? It's interesting when you talk about problems, solutions to the problem, but yet you are part of the problem. Now, I know at my place right now, I live up on F Street, okay? And I do try to help. I give them ice, I give them water. I know a lot of them by names. I don't think a lot of you do. At least the ones that live by me out over on Devil's Slide. And when I walk across the road and there is a tent site where someone had slept right there by a walking trail where my children walk, okay? I do want to help them, but at the same time I've torn. I love my kids, all right? And people who use and have IV drug use problems are problematic in my eyes around children. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know how to help with it other than let's get back to community. Let's talk to each other. Let's figure things out and stop talking at each other. There's too many buses out there to throw each other under.
All right, thank you. I know there are a lot of thoughts having to do with this homeless situation. Again, we're just talking about our 2 locations here at 6th and 7th Streets. Is there anybody else who wants to share a thought on that? All right, I'm going to close public comment and turn it over to council for discussion. DJ.
Sure. My specific concern with this is that J Street is kind of the most immediately temporary of these 2 sites. I'm ignoring kind of all the other issues and just talking about which of these 2 sites do we have an immediate use for coming May next year. And that, with that factor alone, is J Street. We're going to be building our water treatment plant, hopefully beginning construction May of 2025, right? That's the goal, right? And so we need to operate under that goal. I'm not advocating against swapping A Street and 7th Street per se, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that my concern is that the longer we wait for the inevitable replacement site of J Street, given its size, the more difficult that's going to be. And I would hate to see council get into a circumstance where they are forced to make a knee-jerk policy decision to try to replace that site when it's time to replace that site.
Joel?
Well, I was going to make a motion unless somebody else wanted to comment.
Go ahead and make the motion.
Okay. I move to keep things, the 2 sites, keep it at 2 sites. And I move to adopt the resolution identifying allowable locations for camping in accordance with Ordinance Number 24-5910.
Is there a second? Seconded by Valerie. Discussion on that motion. All right. No further discussion. I'll call for the vote. Joel, you made the motion to adopt the resolution. How do you vote?
Yes.
DJ?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Valerie? Yes. Brian?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. So just to reiterate for people, what you will see here is that we will be closing the site at 6th and A over the course of about 2 weeks and transitioning people to that site on 7th Street. So there will just be 2 locations, and these locations are both considered temporary locations, not long-term. As Councilor Frazier stated, we do have plans to build a water treatment site at the J Street location next year. Let's move on to public comment. This is our general public comment time. It's an opportunity for the public to address the council on items that are not related to a public hearing or council action item tonight. The intent is to provide information that is pertinent to the city's jurisdiction. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to address the council as one body, not to individuals. At the conclusion of public comment, actually, we're no longer planning to respond. This meeting will proceed in an effective and courteous manner. Citizens and council members will be allowed to state their positions in an atmosphere free from slander, threats, or other personal attacks. Signs or placards, outbursts of applause, campaigning for public office, or other disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. If you have a question regarding any government-provided service or a current city policy, please contact the city manager's office in an attempt to resolve the matter. And some of you may have already spoken, but I'll call your names up anyway in case your comment was different than what you already said. But Del Matthews. Nope, sorry, Del Aldridge. Said the wrong name there.
I don't understand why you guys are trying to reinvent the wheel. Medford got it right. You got it wrong. You corralled the drug dealers. You said, everybody out of the park. Well, you left 2 groups behind. You left the tentless campers and you left the car campers. And those 2 sites you have now are drug dens. I know exactly where to get drugs in that new place on that J Street. I can walk in, turn to your right, there it is. You all saw it. Everybody knows it, but you're doing nothing about it. We need to have some control at both those gates. We need to know who's going in and out. You go to a campsite, you register. We need to know who's there. You got drug dealers in there. You got drug dealers at the park. We were at the park cleaning it up. We always sit around afterward, and here we sit there and watch this guy sell drugs to cars coming in and out. And then we notice one Parks goes in the bathroom. We had just cleared out 2 other drug dealers in there, and he was in there doing drugs. Not 15 minutes later, another guy walks in there with no legs. We called the cops this time. We just couldn't handle it anymore because we just finished cleaning Morrison Park and finding everything we always find: needles, caps, lots of foils. And you know what happened? Cops came out, and luckily the guy that was in the stall doing drugs had only a beer, and he was a sex offender, a registered federal sex offender. And then he was out the next day while we're in Morrison up at Gilbert Creek. He pulls right in and sees us all there cleaning the park up and takes off. And he's the one that walked up and handed the guys drugs. You guys need to start cleaning up the system. You did something about car campers. You had that little thing you put together where people can sign up. Put that on the water bills, start promoting it, and maybe put a little money behind it. Because car campers, I'm going to say half of them, maybe less, are drug dealers, drug people. The other half are seriously in trouble, and they need help, need a place to go where they can be safe. We meet these people every day in the parks. Join Park Watch.
David Dapper, then Stephen Nelson.
Hi, David Dapper, city resident. And I have a thing about the hours posted on the parks. We need to enforce them. I was told we are, and then I was told we aren't. We live by rules. I recently went by Morrison Park, the neighbors on the western side there, and talked to them about what's going on with the car campers. And one old guy, disabled guy, gets meals delivered to him because he can't take care of them himself. And they're stealing his meals before he can get to them. Other kids, their bikes are always stolen. They're going through at night they come up on their porches and they go through and steal everything that's not nailed down. One lady, the car campers at night, they broke in her car and not only ripped her off, they crapped in her car. This is what is going on in the park. The drug dealing at night, the car campers, if we can get them out of the parks, a lot of the drug dealing is going to go with them. And it's like Walmart for drugs in these parks at night. The fighting, the neighbors, they told us about the constant fighting at night. They're scared to go there. They won't walk their dogs over there. We need to enforce rules. That's why we made them, right? To enforce them. And this is something we need you guys to make a decision. Yes, we're going to enforce the rules that the rest of us have to live by, or no, we're not. And we're all just going to do whatever we want. But please enforce the park rules, the hours.
Stephen, I think Sunshine's gone. Bob McGuire's next.
Steve Nelson, thank you for letting me speak. Years ago, a friend of mine and myself said that meth would be the new mental illness, and it has panned out to be true. I have a question for city officials. Has there been a thorough screening process regarding the designated homeless tent camps to prevent drug addiction and alcoholic behavior issues of those who have these type of problems? Has there been a thorough vetting of these people going to these camps? And I don't believe so. I only know that an unknown percentage of the homeless in this city have serious addictive illnesses, and they certainly need help. Common sense scenarios have often played out in my mind whenever I see addicted homeless folks, and yet around me, I mostly don't see this happening. In fact, I know one of the paramedics who told me that they answer the same overdosed homeless addicts again and again and again. Common sense would say those continually addicted people need to be in a locked-down treatment facility receiving help. And yet some of you might say that we cannot infringe upon their rights. My response would be they do not have the right to infringe upon the valuable shift time of emergency responders. Yes, their job is to save lives, but to revive the same addicts again and again is asinine. The addicted person needs serious help. I firmly believe that such laws need to be changed to state effectively that after 3 strikes, the addicted person is placed into a lockdown treatment facility. Thank you.
Bob. And then Catherine Hamilton. And then Mike Pelfrey.
Bob McGuire. Just kind of what Dale said. We work the parks there, and we have the drug dealers memorized, and they come in, they come out, and they're doing it right in front of us. We know the cars, and it's just crazy how they're coming in just doing it, and with us not, and we don't see any cops. I'm retired now, and I've taken it I've taken it upon myself to just go and kind of patrol parks because we don't see any cops ever. And so I'm just kind of, it's just, you know, I've been here all my life and I want Grants Pass back. And the tweakers, the vagrants are taken over. I've talked to so many people in the car campers and just people, and these people are scared of the vagrants. They're scared of them. And they don't want to go into these places. They are scared. There's ladies at Riverside Park, they are scared to death of these vagrants. And I'm telling you what, they don't want nothing to do with them. And I said, well, you really need to get out of the parks, but they don't want to. And I felt bad for them. And what do? But nobody, you know, and then I hear a rumor about they're going to be able to stay. Car campers are going to stay in the parks. Is this true? Fill me in. Fill us in.
Catherine County again. The friend gets up this morning, has her nice house, lives by herself, 65 years old, 84-year-old neighbor lives by herself. She walks out the front door, some guy's playing cowboy with a rope, flinging it around. She's scared to go to her car. She doesn't want to get in the car because she's going to have to turn her back when she's getting into the car. Calls the police. It's not the first time, it's not the second time, it's not the third time. It's to the point she's not even telling me when she calls because of how upset I am getting. She lives by herself. I tell her to get wasp spray because it can go about 20 feet. She doesn't want to do that. The neighbor is calling her, telling her, yeah, she's looking out her kitchen window saying, yeah, I see him out there, he's on my lawn. This is what they're doing. They're hanging out. The ones that are not obeying by living in the parks, in either J or across here, the camps, are hanging out. They don't have their tents, they have their backpacks, they have their skateboards. They're just hanging out. So that if they don't have a tent, they can't get in trouble. Well, they're after hours, but you know, there's only so much I know the cops can do. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Now, something closer to my heart that I want to ramble on while I have a few seconds. The animals. A cat was killed in front of car people last night on the parkway by 2 stray dogs, supposedly, whatever. That could have been a kid. The vet, one of the local vets shuts down, headlines on the newspaper. We don't have spay and neuter in this town. And you can say, well, that's not a security issue, that's not an issue. Every animal that ends up in animal control is costing us money. If we could get spay and neuter one day a month, one day a quarter, to get some of these animals taken care of out of the parks and all Uber for them, it would save us all money.
Mike Pelfrey, did you want to speak? And then Jay Meredith.
Mike Pelfrey again, city. So I would ask our city residents to reflect on the last almost 4 years of where Grants Pass has, what Grants Pass has become. Same with our country. I mean, if you look at our country, I mean, it amazes me that we even have a discussion about these camps when this administration, yes, a Democrat administration, allowed millions of illegal immigrants into our country, and they hand them places, they have places to live, they have places to sleep, they have places, they have food, they have debit cards, and these folks over here are literally living, they're basically, it's like we have our own human zoo here in Grants Pass, which is pretty sad. But again, I think the citizens really need to stop, reflect, look at every position up here, every single one of them. And there are several of those positions that are up for election.
Mike,
No, I'm not running for office.
Regarding campaigning.
I'm not campaigning.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that what this city needs is change, and we need it we need it bad. And when I say, I mean change, I mean from the top all the way down through our city council. So I urge our citizens that when you get your ballot, and after you check your
Sir,
vote
this
for
is
President
definitely,
Trump,
okay,
I
stop.
then think
Okay, we're
that
calling a
you-
recess.
Really? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. You said, okay, campaigning for office. Am I? Last time I checked, I'm not. And if you think that the city of Grants Pass is in good shape,
Jay Meredith, if you were wanting to speak, and then I'm not sure if Kimberly Sanders is still here, but she would be next. Okay, go ahead, Jay.
Good evening, Council. Jay Meredith, city resident. I want to tag on to something that Councilor Frazier said a few minutes ago, and that is basically May is going to be here before we know it. And we're going to have to change that J Street site pretty quickly. And I'm concerned that we haven't identified what other site is potentially going to be used. We haven't earnestly talked recently about making it a managed site versus an unsupervised site. We've seen now the problems associated with an unsupervised site. I'm concerned we haven't identified somebody that would operate the site because the city is not a social services provider and doesn't have any regular revenues to provide for that. The city may be able to provide some one-time resources or a piece of land to do this, but there are so many things that need to be discussed and not much time to discuss it. So I'm highly recommending the council set up either a task force or an informal working group, convened by staff, and work through all these issues as soon as possible. There is a site, as the crow flies, about a mile outside of town on Foothill Boulevard that I think could be used for this purpose. There's pros and cons to every different site that's out there, but that's one of a couple of sites that I think needs some serious discussion. I don't know of any other of any city-owned site within city limits that would be ideal for this purpose. And I know the city's in process of purchasing a series of properties up on Washington, but my take on that would be I don't think you could use any of those sites for this purpose because urban renewal funds is what is being used to purchase those sites. So I would take the opinion that none of those sites could be used either. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let's put together a group and harness this energy to solve it. Thanks.
All right, that was the last of our speakers for public comment this evening. I had a couple of questions for Captain Lee, who's sitting in for our Chief of Police tonight. Captain Lee, could you just address the rules regarding car camping and just being in the park after dark? How that's enforced?
Yep, absolutely. So because the federal injunction still has not been completely closed, that matter has not been closed, and there has been no alternative as far as where car campers can go. If they're camping, they are technically still allowed to be there. So until that is completely resolved, then if they are still camping in a car in the parks, then we really can't do anything about that. As far as drug use and drug dealing in the parks or elsewhere, this community is extremely blessed to have dedicated team of professionals out there on patrol, but with that, there's only so many. So we rely heavily on our community partners and everybody to help us out and be our eyes and call in when they see that.
Unfortunately, the time that we get there won't always be what one might desire, but we'll get there and we'll take care of it.
Thank you. All right, next up on our agenda is the consent agenda, and if we could please have our council vice president here, Riker, read the consent agenda.
Item 4A, resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a 3-year enterprise license agreement with ESRI for GIS software and maintenance. 4B, resolution providing financial assistance to the Grants Pass Sobering Center. 4C, motion acknowledging the receipt of the monthly investment report for August 2024. 4D, motion approving the minutes of the City Council meeting of September 18th, 2024. 4E, motion acknowledging the minutes of the Urban Area Planning Commission meeting of August 28th, 2024. 4F, motion acknowledging the minutes of the Committee on Public Art meeting August 13th, 2024. 4G, motion acknowledging the minutes of the Urban Tree Advisory Committee meeting of August 12th, 2024. 4H, motion acknowledging the minutes of the Bikeways and Walkways Committee meeting August 13th, 2024. And 4I, motion acknowledging the minutes of the Historical Buildings and Sites Commission meeting of August 8th, 2024. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Valerie. All right. Rick, how do you vote on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
DJ?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Consent agenda passes 8-0. Are there any matters that you would like to bring up tonight, council? No? Anything from staff this evening? Oh, hang on just a second. Rob?
So circling back to DJ's concern earlier, I was hoping that we would get, as soon as possible, at a workshop to begin discussions on what we're going to do in May with regards to homeless site. Because as Jay Meredith also pointed out, it's inevitable and we've got to do it. So to me, the sooner we start on that, the better. I know that there are some people who, tonight said that we're doing too much and spending too much time on these issues, and other people tonight said that we need to do a lot more. But in any event, what we do know for sure is that J Street will be gone. Well, that's our plan, that J Street will be gone in May. So I'm hoping that council can begin to look at that as soon as possible and get that on our agenda.
Absolutely. I don't have a future agenda here in front of me. I kind of recall that we already put it on the agenda for later this fall, but if we didn't, we will certainly get it on because we do need to have further discussions. We have always discussed these two sites as being temporary, and we know for sure that's true of the J Street site. So we definitely will be coming up with something else, or else we won't have a water treatment plant, right? Anything from
I just want to
Val?
say it is Art Along the Road this weekend, so that's a big weekend. First Friday is Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday is Art Along the Road downtown. So it is a great time in the city of Grants Pass, and the weather will be nice. So get out and enjoy.
That's true, and also on the October 24th, we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Welcome Center downtown that just recently reopened after being fully renovated.
So, just want to mention that there's something a little different in this room and a little just upbeat energy that I feel, and it's coming from over here, and it might be, oh wait, I think there's someone new over there. We have Chief Sanchez, our new fire chief, and as we go through, I'll just have him say a few brief words and introduce himself, so.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to say hello to everybody. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be working with this wonderful X-team, this executive team here. I'm looking forward to working with all of you, and I am a resource. I am a servant of this community. I'm working with a lot of great professionals from the PD side to my guys, the firefighters, that have been serving you guys so well. Whatever you need, please, I am available. Come find me. My door is open. You have my contact information, and we'll be working together for hopefully as long as you guys will have me. I plan on raising my family here and enjoying this time in this beautiful city of Grants Pass. So thank you.
Thank you. Nice to have you. Anything else from staff tonight? I know we still have a little bit of meeting left here. Jason?
2 super quick items, 3 technically. We're scheduled to meet with you on November 18th to discuss the GMP for the water filtration plant. So your timing on discussing whether or not how to close that camp, I think is appropriate. The other thing is I will be meeting in Salem with the Infrastructure Finance Authority to hopefully finalize the last loans from Business Oregon, which were low interest, which you guys already approved us to pursue. The process is you go to Business Oregon says yes, the Infrastructure Finance Authority then grants you those dollars. So I'll be making a presentation to them on Friday. Oregon Health Authority received our plans and approved them, so we are good to go for construction as far as the Oregon Health Authority is. And the best news is FEMA is coming to town on, I know that sometimes doesn't always sound correctly, but FEMA is coming to town so that we can sit down and work through all of the issues on the BRIC grant face-to-face across the table, and we believe that that will get us to the finish line with the BRIC grant. So we're pretty excited about all of that.
Good news. Anything else down that way? No. All right, well, we are planning to do an executive session, so go ahead, Brian.
I move that we adjourn regular session and move into executive session.
Thank you. Seconded by Val. All in favor of adjourning the regular meeting and moving into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The council will now meet in executive session for the purpose